Hopefully that's plugged into the right thing. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to, I guess, another political recap with myself and Trups. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups.
How's Trups been?
Work was normal today, but as I watched this Senate hearing go on, I just got more and more interested and dissuaded away from my work because this mattered too much.
Okay, so I have not seen the Kavanaugh stuff. I had to work out, and I wanted to tune a guitar, and I figured, well, why not emotionally break you instead of myself?
Oh, joy, thank you.
You're welcome. Did you want to start with the slightly happier thing we were going to cover for a few minutes before we dive into the Kavanaugh stuff?
Yeah, let's do that.
I haven't got anything for that, so just go for it.
Yeah, here, let me throw it to you real quick.
Yeah, throw me a link. I'll add it to the... I'll put it on screen for us to laugh at. If you've got it. I'll read the chat while we're doing this.
Yeah, I got one from TMZ. Why not?
TMZ, good quality news right there. That's like the bestest of news. And actually, to be honest,
I mean they're still accurate, so I guess.
Yeah,
I mean
there was a song by Hinder called "Wanna Be Rich," I think, and I think in the song they threw shade at TMZ for being considered news, which I thought was quite funny, to be honest.
I mean, they're a tabloid, right? So...
Yeah. Okay, hopefully this is on the right one. It is. Okay. Right. Agree and proceed to the cookie... Get rid of the cookie crap. Right, okay, so... what happened? Oh, I can play a video.
So,
there's a video!
Yeah, let the video go.
Okay, I'll just wait for the video to load. It's 42 seconds long, so... Okay.
Today I stand before the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country.
Is it true when he says it's accomplished more than any administration in history of... And I've paused the video just for the sake of it, Traps. Is he just embellishing a bit there?
I mean, he's embellishing a little bit, but
he's done a lot,
in terms of economic growth and job numbers of unemployment, I mean, he's not all that wrong, to be honest.
Okay, right.
The stock market is at the highest it's ever been in history. Black unemployment is at its record low, so I mean...
Shh. We don't want them to know they're not actually working in cotton fields. I'm going to press play on the last 20 seconds, by the way.
America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
Okay. So why were other nations laughing?
Okay, so the one that people assume is because he's embellishing too much for himself.
It's reference to
that he's
bragging about his presidency.
But in reality, what happened was somebody in the front said "so true." That's why he then repeated it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this article here, where it's it's just throwing shade at Trump while not entirely it's like the freaking fish again. People didn't understand the full situation. Okay, that's quite funny. I like that. That's amusing.
But yeah, so that's why when he made the quip afterwards, everybody laughed.
Yeah,
it was because everyone who understood.
Right. Okay.
So honestly, it wasn't. It really wasn't all that much, but people like honed in on the fact that the UN laughed and Trump was on stage. Lol.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of it, and like that's at least a happy, fun time.
Yeah,
news
prepare for the next 55 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this, I figure we should do a very quick, a reasonable recap on what has happened up until today. So the first thing happened, Brett Kavanaugh was selected for the Supreme Court Justice by Donald Trump. Yes.
Yep.
everything was going, I assume, smoothly up until a point.
It was a little bit dicey at the very beginning.
Is that because of his pro-life stuff?
No, it was actually because a women's rights group sent an email, a pre-written email, where XX was in the place of Brett Kavanaugh's name, because they were going to deny anybody, regardless of who it was.
Is it okay? So is this all because Trump?
Trump. Yeah.
Is that literally it? I mean, there's actually something that was referenced in one of the many articles I was looking at earlier, where I think it was even a quote. I'm not going to read the quote. I can't be bothered. But it was referencing that. I know it was something Kavanaugh said, where he felt that he was becoming a putz, not a putz, but he was being made a fall guy to continue crapping on Trump because he beat Hillary.
Yeah,
I think he actually said that.
True.
That's a quote. I think from his hearing in one of the articles.
From his opening statement, I think.
Yeah. I might actually have the article. I don't know.
Some 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, there are a few. Yeah, fuck it. I'm not going to find it in all this.
Yeah, I've got it open, but like it just keeps getting bigger, so I can't even find a timestamp for you.
I do want to show, before we continue with the timeline, I just want to put up Riley Dennis's tweet. Christine Blasey Ford is braver than a U.S. Marine. Thank you, Stargazer, for sharing that with me. Thank you.
This pissed me off so much.
I mean, you can't compare the two. You really can't. Okay, let's compare someone who willingly serves the nation, right, with somebody who has a story and based on what I heard in the hearing, many contradictions, and we'll get to all of that once we finish this timeline. Because I think it's important to finish that. Everything, by the way, for those interested, is linked below, except for the Trump laughing thing, because I forgot to put it there.
I didn't give it to him. It's not his fault.
He was here at literally 9:30 because I reminded him. So what happened? Okay, so I know there were some minor obstacles because of his stances on gun control and pro-life. He's anti-abortion, isn't he?
Yeah, it was mostly people started going crazy over him after they took a skeptic's 1 hour research into what.
Did they watch Armored Skeptic's video on postmodernism or something?
Probably.
That's about how much research he put into that.
This is a part 2 of that, dude.
He did a part 2?
I think so.
Oh, dear God. And I bet he put less than an hour into that as well. It might have been layman's responses. Okay, so there were some obstacles, but nothing. I'll be honest. I always thought he'd be confirmed. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That to me made sense. There was nothing really. Okay, he's a traditionalist, basically. He's a constitutional guy. He's pro-life. I have no real issue with him. People are free to be that way, and it's fine. Honestly, he's not a bad person. But then, a week or two before he was going to be voted in by the Senate, is that it? Is that who?
Yeah, it was the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Yeah. So before that, he was accused of rape by somebody who today gave a testimony, and I saw the memes on the internet. Some of them were glorious.
I haven't seen them yet, so...
Yeah, I wouldn't. It was quite funny. A number of the videos I've pulled up for this, which I've linked to you, and linked below, Twitter videos mostly, are of interest, and we might get to those. But he's accused of rape, and last week, as we discussed...
Sexual assault.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Although the story she gave, wow. Then we had... Is it Jill Feinstein? Is that her name? Diane Feinstein, right. She claimed to have a letter which she'd held on to for months, which, if it's criminal, then surely it is equally criminal that she withheld it for so long. If there's any actual investigation that could be done here, what she done was pervert the course of justice, which is quite ironic, considering what she is opposing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And since then, someone else has come out. In fact, 2 more, I believe. But unfortunately, much like the first person's story, Ford's, it has been confirmed that they themselves have said It cannot be corroborated. It cannot be proven. It is just their word, which has led to many media outlets, and I have quite a lengthy list of every major news outlet in America and the United Kingdom that have basically just said, we believe her. That's basically how it's come across. Because they're not trying to find the evidence. They want to circumvent a very fundamental American right, and that is innocence until proven guilty. They want.
Ooh, I'm gonna get in on this in a hot minute.
And I'll let you do that in a minute. But this has been pissing me off since Title IX, and one of my another patron of mine, Andrew. When I started doing patron streams, he used to mention it to me all the time, and then I finally looked into it and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because it goes against democracy in its purest form. It is very...
It goes against everything that we believe in constitutionally about due process.
It actually completely defies the Constitution in word. It is very, very much not constitutionally accurate or correct or good, whatever you want to call it, wholesome.
It does not adhere to it.
It doesn't, no. And I'm sorry to Graham that Kavanaugh touched you while you were watching him on YouTube. Can't corroborate it. And
He touched me too, but in my heart.
In your heart. Okay, so go ahead, get it off your chest. Come on, this
fucking shit, I swear to God, is an absolute mess, and I can't take it anymore. Because
let it out, boy.
Fucking Ford gets up there in the morning and she starts listing off her fucking story, and she starts sobbing and crying, and fine, okay, that's expected. But then I start seeing her fucking lose her shit, and by that I mean that she starts doing these neurotic ass hair flips. She switches her head back and forth, blinking, goes absolutely nuts, but only when she's not saying something. And she will tailor her response and her attitude and her body language to the person asking them questions. If it's a Republican, completely hostile, like afraid, scared, and uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, because they hired.
And if it's a Democrat,
they hired a proper lawyer, didn't they?
Yeah, they hired an independent one just so they couldn't
Yeah.
Oh my God, Chadwick. She was forcing those tears so hard, her face didn't change colors, her eyes didn't go red. I'm like, that's not how fucking people cry. What the hell's wrong with you, you psycho?
You know that TV show Criminal Minds? They profile criminals. Yeah, I was sat there thinking I was an armchair profiling expert watching her. The one word that was in my head the entire time was deception. That was the word I felt the entire time. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm really not. But all we have is what she says, and everyone is treating it like it is gospel. If this is real, and it did happen, it shouldn't be a Senate that deals with it. It should be the fucking police. But
the police can't even do it.
It's not just that. The problem is, even those people she claimed are her witnesses can't remember the story. And I know this because I remember seeing the quote where they said this. They basically went to people who went to school with her. People she said would corroborate her story, and they've said, I don't remember this. People at a school and I think I linked to you yesterday. The
letter.
Yeah, the letter. And that letter from her school, it completely shat on her. I can't remember what it was.
Chadwick, you gotta take a look. There's already a fucking GoFundMe that was trying to reach $150,000, and she's got over 300,000 by the point of the screenshot that I had seen.
She must have taken a letter out, a page out of Anita Sarkeesian's book. Did I link you that yesterday?
Or every other fucking Democrat who plays a victim.
Oh yeah,
complex.
The Georgetown Prep School letter. I didn't put this in the description, so I will put it in the chat for people who are interested now. It is... Oh, I can't because I'm on the wrong account. Fine, I'll switch accounts. You keep talking for a second.
Okay. But then you finally get Brett Kavanaugh finally talking for the first time. He finally makes his statement, and the most pained human being came out. And eventually, after his initial breakout of anger that came with the first about 5 minutes of his speech, he breaks down after saying that his wife and his daughter, yesterday were prepping for this case and everything, and his daughter, who is 10 years old, says that we should pray for the woman, and he starts breaking down in tears.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I saw out of that man is a man who is desperately fighting to save his reputation with not only the people of the United States, but within his friends and his family and his daughter, most definitely.
Do you know what I think should happen? I think the most expensive lawyers on the planet should be hired for him. And he should then force this to go to a criminal court. Because he has nothing to hide, clearly. If these people are so desperate to testify, okay, testify in an actual court during an actual criminal trial, and once he's completely proven innocent, because I get the feeling he will be, everyone responsible for this should either resign from their positions of privilege, which would include that retard with the letter, and the others, and anyone else involved, like that freaking senator from Hawaii who's basically preaching "listen and believe."
Yo, that bitch needs to shut the fuck up.
I don't want to. It's the annoying thing is, the more public figures that are defending are female, and it just comes across as really sexist.
I'm sorry, but when I have dealt with enough of this shit, seeing the Me Too movement ruin people's lives. I mean, the ones that aren't true. I'm talking not like Bill Cosby, not like that kind of thing. I'm talking about the Me Too movement abuses, where at the first inception of the Me Too movement, everybody posted on Facebook and Twitter hashtag Me Too, nothing else, just that, and I was like, fuck off with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that finally gets to me when I see in the live chat of the thing, look at this fake ass bitch crying at Brett Kavanaugh. What a goddamn liar, all this shit. I'm like, excuse you. You know the differences between fucking Christine Ford and her crying and the other one crying. One of them is crocodile tears. The other one is full flushed out face, red eyes, and pain.
The thing is, I'm really confused by this. What does anyone hope to accomplish by this? I mean, by doing this hearing, what was the goal? You've got some statements, and essentially all this is doing is stalling a confirmation. And by doing so, you're finding more people who cannot confirm anything, but are using the Me Too, essentially the Me Too movement, to make a very, well, you're not making a point. You can't prove anything happened. You can't prove guilt, so you're relying on moral outrage to achieve your goal. But as Kavanaugh's already said, he's not going to quit. People said he should, and if he did, that would be a big win for the Democrats, who are, and I know someone on Twitter earlier pointed out to me that this wasn't a Democrat thing, this was Christine Ford lying. And I had to reply that, no, the Democrats are using this. It has been seen that they are using this. That is not how you win with cheap point-scoring exercises, especially when you are showing, and this is like the bleach thing I made the video on. If you're willing to resort to those tactics to win, your eventual win that you get for using those tactics is hollow and short-lived. Because eventually when you start using those tactics more, people push back. And they don't have to push back with the same tactics to get the win. They just have to push back. And they can use the law to beat you. You will eventually lose. That's pretty much a given, really. Especially when you are willing to sink so low and deceive and stall and basically drag something to the public that has literal no evidence for it, other than the word of one person who cannot prove anything, who actually lied when she gave her statements. And I did tell you in DM she did this. When she said that she'd never told anyone the story, she didn't. That's what she said. But then a few minutes later, she was talking about how she was telling people the story on the beach. And I sat back and thought, wait, what? How did you go from not telling anyone, which you stated outright, to then telling people? And somehow it was those people that convinced you to go public with this. I'm sorry.
And did you notice that somebody else also, she also mentioned that she then told that story to her friends from school, who then reminded her later on that they had that conversation after the thing went public. And I was like,
are these the
oh,
same
look at
friends that couldn't remember the story? In fact, didn't
No,
remember at all?
these are unnamed fucking friends.
All of them, at this point, with this being so public, unfortunately, I'd recommend they actually be brought out. So I'm going to read a quote from, and this may not be the most popular person. I do have a video for it, I guess. The quote is, "No matter where people fall on the spectrum of guilt or innocence in our republic, we should always be innocent until proven guilty. We shouldn't usurp this for some quasi-Salem process, as we have seen play out in the press." It is quite impressive. And I don't check Twitter much, but when I do, I see, certainly today, it was highly charged. It really was. People were all over this Kavanaugh stuff, which is why I've got 4 different little mini videos that are on Twitter. The first one being from the NRA, which has Dana Loesch talking to Grant Stinchfield. You okay if I play that, or play bits of it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I will switch scene first to that. No, that. Bingo! Okay, something I'm going to point out now. Something's wrong with Dana Loesch's face. I wonder if anyone else is going to notice this.
Out of all this today, Dana?
That's the million-dollar question. I'm not even sure. I mean, I don't even know if we're 100% certain that Dr. Ford is going to show up, because just the other day...
Has anyone else noticed what's wrong with her face? Right, I've seen her smile a lot, but no, I think she's had some Botox in her lip.
Either that, or she's gotten punched.
Either that, or she had a nut allergy, and a really bad reaction just happened to her lips. It's amazing. She has such a good. It just reminds me of my neighbour, which I was talking to somebody and they saw her and they looked at her as she was walking past and they just said, "That's filth." Right now, that's what Dana looks like.
Dianne Feinstein had said that she couldn't say with confidence whether or
right
not
now,
she could. There was a lot of going back and
apparently,
forth.
I'm scrolling through Twitter as we have this conversation because I'm getting a play-by-play.
Yep.
And apparently Lindsey Graham just absolutely lit the goddamn place on fire.
Okay, so who is Lindsey Graham, for those that don't know?
He's a South Carolina senator.
Oh, he fucking hell. Okay,
it's
so
like it's an old thing, but
no,
anyway,
okay. We have an actor called
the
Lindsey,
first thing that had the reason I even got drawn to looking at Twitter was because Ben Shapiro just retweeted something. It says, "If you're looking for a fair trial, you came at the wrong place at the wrong time." I was like, if somebody fucking actually said that, they need to be fired immediately.
It wasn't Lindsey.
Literally.
Was it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm
God,
here, so I'm not.
Do we know? Do we know whether
watching.
he's a Trump? Is he Republican or Democrat?
Lindsey Graham is a very Republican.
Yeah, so I would argue he would stand very much on the constitutionalist side. So I don't think I don't think he said that. I'm going to play a little bit more of this Dana Loesch video because her face.
There's one thing that I really want everyone to kind of focus on here. No matter where people fall on the spectrum of guilt or innocence, and
she's repeating what I've already said. Fuck it. I'll pause that video. We'll go to that in a bit. Her face though is amazing.
It's a lot. That's a bad Botox job.
Yeah, everything. Nothing moved. Literally nothing moved. I don't know what to say to that. What's going to happen after the Senate hearing? Because I don't actually understand the process for this now. Like, does it actually mean that the confirmation will be pushed back?
I don't know, honestly. Like, it depends. It really depends.
Yeah, and to answer someone in the chat,
if shit goes the way towards Kavanaugh, then I mean the vote's gonna happen one way or the other, and the Republicans have been trying to push this shit on. So I can't imagine they're going to delay it any longer, but they definitely wanted to put this on.
do you think
for a
he'll be
public
confirmed?
spectacle. See, now that's the scary part, because at the moment I don't think he has the votes, because the moment you start mentioning sexual allegations, then even even some Republicans will abandon their convictions because they don't want to be seen as, you know, going against the against the
status
public
quo
outcry.
The status quo.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now this is a trial by public opinion. It's not even about the job anymore. Now it's about, can we in fact stop somebody from getting a life appointment because we said so? And that's the dangerous part. If they find Ford in the right here, we have set a precedent forever.
Okay. Well, two things I want to answer in the chat: spectrum of guilt and innocence. What I think Donna meant was that there's kind of somehow there's a grey area between the two, or there is kind of innocent but did something that could be considered guilty, and the same for kind of being guilty but doing something that is innocent. I think that's what she meant, but I tend to think guilty is guilty, innocent is innocent. I don't care for nuance. And there was another question. If Trump hadn't picked Judge Kavanaugh to be his nominee, do you think these allegations would have ever come up on Judge Kavanaugh? And the answer is no. The chat is quite right. No. This is being done, and sorry, but I'm an Englishman. I see this, and all I see is people fucking with Trump. That's what I see. I watched her give a testimony, and I think I have a Twitter video of her talking, and it was... Oh shit, I opened the wrong file. I felt the word I used was deceiver, and I felt it. It just, I don't know, something didn't sit with me. And so I've got a short video clip I'll bring up in a second on Good Morning America. So hopefully we won't get copyright strikes for that. So
before you do that, I do want to address Nick's comment here. He says the phrase "not guilty" is not the same as innocent.
Yes, so
yes, it is. In American politics, it is, because you are innocent until proven guilty.
Actually, no, I know what he means. There's the argument of just because you can't prove someone's guilty doesn't mean they're innocent. It means you didn't have enough evidence to prove the guilt. That's what I think. That's what I think he meant. We've had cases in the UK where people have been accused of rape, but not enough evidence was obtained to prove it. Therefore, the person wasn't guilty because there wasn't enough evidence to prove it. But there was evidence there. It's fucking stupid and annoying. Maybe it's not the same in America, but it certainly is in England. So shall I play the 1 minute video of Christine Blasey Ford talking?
Surely.
Okay. I had confided in some close friends that I had had an experience with sexual assault. Occasionally, I stated that my assailant was a prominent lawyer or judge, but I did not use his name. I do not recall each person I spoke to about Brett's assault.
Do you... I've paused it for a second. Do you think another reason the word deceiver or deception stayed in my head as long as it did is because this woman is also a psychologist. So to deceive people would be something she is quite capable of doing. What do you think?
I'm not sure. And Patriarch, wanna bet I've seen it done in regards to my comment, women aren't accused of it, meaning rape. On average, women are much less likely to be accused and found guilty of rape.
It's because there are so few scenarios listed by the FBI where a woman can in fact be charged for rape. I remember doing a video on this because they have a list of scenarios for women and men in the FBI standards, and there are, I think there's only 2 of all of them. One of them is commission of a gang rape, and the other is, I can't remember what it is, but if I remember correctly, it did not include putting a gun to your boyfriend's head and forcing him to drill you, which was a story I covered once. It is astonishing, and UK is just as bad. Forcible envelopment made to penetrate are not considered rape, and yet every year we put up a .gov petition to try and get them to review it, and they refuse. Every fucking year.
Of course not, they won't.
Okay,
But the thing is, most rape is defined by penetration.
Yeah.
So technically, the only way for a woman to be found guilty of rape is if she penetrates the man, not if she forces the man to penetrate her.
That was the other one the FBI listed. Forcible penetration by a woman using an object. I'm going to finish this video, which is another minute long, okay?
Okay.
And some friends have reminded me of these conversations since the publication of the Washington Post story on September 16th, 2018. But until July 2018, I had never named Mr. Kavanaugh as my attacker outside of therapy.
I'm sorry. The glasses are so distracting. I find it very hard to look at her when those glasses are so fucking big.
This change.
I don't know why I had to mention that, but it's a distraction. It makes it very hard for me to... Oh god, that pause face though. It makes it very hard for me to maintain eye contact and try and discern if she's telling the truth or not. I don't know. I'm going to finish this video.
Changed in early July 2018. I saw press reports stating that Brett Kavanaugh was on the short list of a list of very well qualified Supreme Court nominees. I thought it was my civic duty to relay the information I had about Mr. Kavanaugh's conduct so that those considering his nomination would know about this assault.
There is not a tear coming from her face. Not a single tear. I honestly, how the fuck do you deal with that? Her voice is cracking and she's looking around a bit, but there's just nothing there. I'm not an expert. I'm really not. But this is really, really bad. I'm actually confused. How do you believe someone that... I don't know. It gets under my skin a little bit.
Same. A lot.
Yeah. I'm gonna play... I have one more video. It's 38 seconds long. It's where Senator Feinstein speaks.
There's been a great deal
of
public discussion about the Me Too movement today versus the Year of the Woman almost 27 years ago. But while you...
Okay, do you know anything about the Year of the Woman before I continue her video?
Sorry, say again?
Year of the Woman, which was 27 years ago.
I have no idea what that is.
No, I don't either, but she was talking about it in context of comparing it to the Me Too movement. And for those who don't know, the Me Too movement is a massive joke. It all centered around Harvey Weinstein, of course. But others that have come out have used nothing but moral outrage, hysteria, and... Actually, you know what? There is a great comparison. There is one instance that destroyed someone's career, but all we have is a story. Who is it? Anyone? Kevin Spacey.
Oh joy, thanks.
He was accused of sexually abusing someone, but all we ever had was a story. That's all we had. And what happened? His career was destroyed. And I know it's not the best comparison, but it's the best one I can draw from the Me Too movement, where someone actually had their life utterly destroyed, their career. Sorry. I guess his life doesn't. It doesn't matter with his life because fuck, he's got all the money he needs. I'll finish.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it better.
No, it doesn't. But it depends on if he cares about his reputation anymore, I guess. I'll finish this video and then we'll talk a bit more.
Women are standing up and saying no more. Our institutions have not progressed in how they treat women who come forward. Too often, women's memories and credibility come under assault. In essence, they are put on trial and forced to defend themselves, and often re-victimized in the process.
Right, the video's over, and the important quote here: they are put on trial and forced to defend themselves, and often re-victimized in the process. No, that's actually a misunderstanding entirely in how the process works. You see, if you make an accusation, you have to prove it for a conviction to even be slapped on someone. It's not a case of forcing you to defend yourself, it's forcing you to prove you're not lying through your gigantic glasses. You have spun it the wrong way.
There's a phrase that we use here, and it says that the accuser has the, quote, burden of proof, meaning that is the person who must prove that their allegations are true. Because the person who is defending themselves is innocent until proven guilty, that is why the accuser has to prove it's true. Otherwise, it's just a he said, she said.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the problem. People and Weinstein is pretty much she's pretty much on the wrong side of this. Her misunderstanding is ridiculous. It does show that she's spinning it to make it seem like due process shouldn't exist. That quote is enough, to be honest, to prove that. I need to close some of these
Right
tabs.
now, it looks like the Democrats en masse do not believe in due process.
This is why, when I mentioned the Hawaii senator, she was asked a bunch of questions about this, and she almost made it seem like, because of the position that Kavanaugh is in, he shouldn't have, or he should be treated differently because of it, as if his due process rights, his rights as an American citizen, should be somehow circumvented to simply get a massive label and slap it on his face, which would say rapist.
A lot of people have literally said that he does not deserve to speak.
Yeah.
Like, literally, burden of proof, not necessary. You have a right to your to face your accuser, not necessary. You have a right to defend yourself, nah, fuck it.
No,
like,
I'm with you.
No, we're tearing it apart at the fucking seams at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Piece by piece, like every belief that the United States Constitution holds is currently on display right now.
There was
and it's not going well.
Yeah, there were a number of interviews, and I'm going to bring him up now because this actually reminds me of the Michael Avenatti. Do you know who Michael Avenatti is? Do you want to tell everyone who Michael Avenatti is? Who is Michael Avenatti?
Well, let me tell you, Omegon. Michael Avenatti is the creepy porn lawyer.
The creepy porn lawyer? What's the creepy porn lawyer?
He is the person who represents Stormy Daniels, of course.
Who's Stormy Daniels? Is she filth?
That bitch who keeps talking.
Is she filth?
Oh, yes, she is. But you know what? I can't say it for too long because she's got several millions of dollars in a book deal. So I guess she's...
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
But covered in gold.
She's filthy rich and filth.
Yeah, the emphasis
okay,
on filth.
So what is so important about the creepy porn lawyer?
Well, he claims to represent some of Kavanaugh's accusers.
Oh, of course he does.
But,
even though some of them have only come out very recently
does,
and they're anonymous and also can't corroborate any of their stories. But of course he represents them.
Fun story about that. I might know why they're anonymous. Ironically, well-used term there, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So... according to a 4chan green text...
4chan. Oh, God.
They, well, let me step back.
Yeah, you do that.
Wild Smile, before... regardless of what you think of him, he posted a video earlier today, as well as John Ward. Both of these people, I enjoy watching their content, regardless of what I think of them personally.
Nothing wrong with that.
And Wild Smile posted a bunch of... some good screenshots from Michael Avenatti, including one a while ago, several months ago, in July 30th, that he said basically along the lines of, "I'm getting sick and tired of 4chan. They're playing a dangerous game. I could shut it all down in an instant."
Okay, I need to let you all know, in the chat, in the description below, John Ward's channel is linked there. Oh, not channel. The video we're talking about is linked there, called 4chan Ends Michael Avenatti's Career. Continue.
He's fantastic.
I'd never heard of him, but I have just subscribed, so yeah.
He then there was another message that Avenatti then posted up that followed the green text perfectly by saying, "The Senate Judiciary Committee should ask Brett Kavanaugh about find them, French them, what was it, finger them, fuck them, and forget them? Something like that? With all those Fs in your 4th of July yearbook comment from 36 years ago."
Okay, so there was... Okay, I've got a link about that where... it was something really silly. They brought up a picture of his year, a blown up thing of it, and they called it some kind of devil's triangle. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
White House presses Kavanaugh on yearbook, and underneath it says, I'll pull up a not that one. There we go. So we got a quote here. Devil's Triangle asks White House referring to a yearbook group that Kavanaugh is listed as being a member of. Drinking game, he says. He also denies that other club names refer to having sexual relations with female students, and this is actually relevant to the porn. What's he called? The porn lawyer. Creepy porn lawyer. Yeah, because, and this is what I remembered now. Because he gave a number of interviews, and in them he was questioning this guy's purity, because Kavanaugh had said in interviews he didn't have sex until he was a certain age. He didn't involve himself in it, and he actually was very, and this is quite weird, I've never seen a fully grown man be questioned about his purity, about whether or not he is still carrying his V-plate, whether he had popped his cherry, and whether it was to filth. I found that to be fascinating, and the creepy porn lawyer was questioning the man's integrity about whether or not he'd even gone so far as to get a blowjob off someone, or masturbated even, because, you know, he'd only kissed or French kissed, and that's creepy. That's just that.
Prepubescent?
Yeah, that's almost, you know.
Well, maybe that's not
weird.
Necessarily true, but
no. It's just weird.
Adolescent.
It's just weird that somebody at his age, at the age he was, you know, possibly raping someone, he wasn't doing other things. I'm like, hang on. Are we really going to question whether somebody was still a virgin? Is this how far we have fallen? It's like, yes. I now want to point and go, huh, you're a big fat virgin. I just don't.
Well, that's the other part. That's probably why he never said anything about it, and why it was such like a revelation for them.
I don't
because
does any guy, and I'm going to be honest here, in the chat. Okay, I'm not asking when you lost your virginity, if you did at all, but generally speaking, you don't talk about it. I don't. Never have. It's
nope.
It's just not something that's ever cropped. It's not like I've sat there with the lads and gone, "Oh mate, I lost it when I was this age. Can you beat that?" And then someone's like, "Oh yeah, mate, I got it. I got my dick wet when I was 12." That's not getting your dick, mate. You weren't getting your dick wet, mate. That was the priest. That's not how this goes, okay?
Were you talking to Milo too?
It's just something that doesn't crop up.
Sorry.
To me, it's the weirdest conversation, and the fact that, okay, yeah, I get it. This guy's under a lens. He's been scrutinised, and more so now because of this. And I assume, is he married? Because if he is, his family's been dragged through the mud because of this. This purity test. We need you to step down because we want to beat Trump. Because that's all it is. Okay, hang on. No, I've got to read this from the chat. This is brilliant.
Okay.
Where was it? I've got to find it. Oh, why has it disappeared? It was something about joining the army.
I see it.
I don't.
It's joined the army at 18, and they found out it was a virgin. One of them dragged me down to the whorehouse. They got back to camp. What happened before even I did? What the shit, dude?
See, I've heard of that.
Also,
I've heard of that.
I don't even know what the fuck that was. That just said.
I know what he's talking about because I actually know someone who's been through that. But it's just not. Virginity is just so. It doesn't matter. But the fact that this is being spun by the creepy porn lawyer the way it has, I mean, it's the only thing keeping him relevant. And someone did mention the guy's bankrupt. If he is, that's hilarious. What do you think? Oh, actually, no. Do you have anything else to add to this?
I do.
Oh, go on.
Yes. More about John Ward's video is you might think, well, maybe he's just a liar in real life. Well, no, apparently his wife has sued him because he's emotionally manipulative and abusive, and it makes it a danger for her and the child to live in the same house as him.
Are you referring to the creepy porn lawyer or Brett Kavanaugh?
I am.
Oh, hang on.
The creepy porn lawyer.
Thank you. Oh, that seems so appropriate that he's connected to people who are trying to fuck Kavanaugh. How desperate for relevancy are you that you would align yourself with people who have no real evidence to support any of their claims, which has been confirmed, which is why when someone asks Kavanaugh to call for an FBI investigation, which is in fact referenced in the article I had was reading earlier, there was an earlier quote.
I was gonna say.
Oh, here it is. Democrat Ann Klobuchar suggests that Kavanaugh simply asked the president to open an FBI investigation into the claims against the nominee. I'm going to pull this up so everyone can see it, because it would be rude of me not to show it. Earlier, he refused to call for an investigation, saying it was the role of the US Senate to advise and consent. But there was also something else. Where is it? Where's Mitchell? There was another reference. Somebody tried to make him do it, say it, and he didn't fall for it. Conrin, Kavanaugh. I can't remember where it is. That's a shame. But there was somebody who tried to make him call for it, and he simply said, "I'm innocent." That was the reply.
Oh, I know what that is. Hold on, I know exactly who that is. Give me a second.
I do apologise for not having that ready or anything, but it was just something that occurred to me. But he is right. Oh, no drinking habits. You've ever been blackout drunk? This is all quite meh. Sorry about that. I don't actually have the quote, but I know I've seen it. It's one of the things that keeps cropping up while you're looking for it. What can I do? Oh, I know. I could e-beg for thumbs up. Yes, please do that. Give me thumbs up. Thank you. Any luck finding the quote I was referring to?
Yeah, oh, I'm trying to, because it's right before Lindsey Graham goes on a goddamn rampage.
Mm-hmm. It is quite...
I think his name is Wilson? Wilson? What the fuck's that asshole's name?
The asshole.
Yo, look, it's got like the lowest fucking visibility in these goddamn pixels, and I'm like staring at my screen like 3 inches away trying to read this shit.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not important. Fucking Democrat.
Yeah, it's Lindsey Graham unleashes angry rant. Actually, I can read something. Okay, so he's okay. If you want an FBI investigation, you should have come to us. You could have come to us. He tells Democratic, you wanted to destroy this guy's life. You've got nothing to apologise for. He tells Kavanaugh, this is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. If you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell... I should pull this up for everyone to see, because that's quite rude of me again. You sure as hell would have done that, done what you've done to this guy. Wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. She's as much a victim as you are. Let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Which is basically how he's perceiving the events. He also says you're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school, and then all of a sudden got over it. Graham continues, this isn't a job interview, this is hell. This is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. He tells his Republican colleagues, if they vote no, they're legitimizing this charade. I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who is fair-minded will. There might be a bit here. Here we are. Okay, so Durbin. Senator Durbin.
Yeah, I just found it. I'm like, the motherfucker's name is Durbin.
Yeah, I've got it here. This is the quote I was referring to. When asked if an FBI investigation is what Kavanaugh personally wants, the judge sits there for a moment, leading Durbin to ask, you won't answer? I said I would welcome anything. I'm innocent. But he hasn't called for it. And he shouldn't have to. People are trying to make him call for it. He doesn't have to call for anything. But if you guys think you've got something, do it. Don't force someone else to pull the trigger. If you've got something solid, something concrete, that isn't just the word of somebody who has not told the story supposedly in, 30-odd years, who wrote it down and sent it to somebody and only came forward under, quotes, fair conditions, but crocodile teared her way through the entire event. And I watched her entire thing. I didn't watch Kavanaugh's because, priorities. New guitar and everything.
I also want to point out, by the way, that motherfucker Durbin, because I was watching this shit this morning, too, when he got up to ask Ford a question, he lays it on thick. Oh, my God, like, you're so brave. I believe you.
The sucking
I can't even imagine anybody. I'm like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Okay. You aren't giving her a fair trial.
This is what I think when you're in any kind of hearing, it shouldn't be encouraging people to speak. It should be, okay, you're now here. Speak. That's it. It shouldn't be, let me put my arm around you, squeeze your tits. Do you feel comfortable yet? Okay, now talk. Would you like a cup of tea? Do you want to kick me in the nuts a little? Will that make you feel better? Okay, now speak. It shouldn't be that. You shouldn't mollycoddle somebody into talking. No, she's not. This is not. It's so irritating.
She doesn't deserve it.
No one.
She deserves to be hurt, but she doesn't deserve to be coddled through the process.
No, I know that last week we talked about this, where she had said if it was under fair conditions she'd come forward. So maybe they were pandering to get her to talk. But then she did talk. And people still coddled her. And that, to me, was a mistake. It's why the Republicans hired someone who was impartial. They didn't do it because it was some kind of official process or charging. It was because they wanted to make sure the right questions were asked and there was no obvious bias shown. Which is what they did, and they did it right. And I don't want to defend the fucking... I'll kick you in the nuts if you want, Omegon. Thanks, man. Thanks. It's just one of those silly things where if you're in a courtroom, if you're in any kind of hearing room, that is not how you behave. If you've agreed to terms to come here and, and talk, then you shouldn't be allowed to do that shit. Quite frankly.
And what's really interesting is, she said fair conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as soon as this became apparent to Chairman Grassley, who is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he is a fucking boss, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He, as soon as he found out, the 4 people that she named, besides obviously Kavanaugh, being Mark Judge, was it something Smith? Pete Smith, something like that. Peter Smith, Jeremy Smith, something like that. PJ is what he was called. But anyway, and her friend Leland. All 3, nice. All 3 of those people were then asked, and all 3 of them don't even know what the fuck she's talking about. Like, they don't even know what the party she was talking about. Nothing.
There's too many holes in the evidence in the statement she gave. I counted at least 3 instances where she contradicted herself. But nobody pulled up on it. I mean, the Republican lawyer person, pretty thorough, I'll give them that. But as far as I was concerned, the mistakes, they weren't capitalised on. As far as I was concerned, the moment those mistakes were noticed, and if any, you got to think here, a lawyer in any courtroom is a predator. That's what they are.
Yes.
Their job is to find a gap, a chink in the armour of the witnesses, to undermine them. Or find a gap, a hole, a chink in the evidence. And they found 3, but they didn't do what any good lawyer does. And a good lawyer pounces on it like a motherfucker. They are apex predator at that moment, but nobody did.
Yeah, that's their job. Their job is to break you as a person. And the problem is
because nobody did that. Nobody did it, and I don't know if it's because they thought she was going to run off and crocodile tear her way back to Carolina, is it? Whichever one. I don't know.
I don't know. She was working at Stanford for a while.
Let's just say she's going to run away and cry a crocodile tear her way back to somewhere else in America. Because that's all. I thought maybe that was why they weren't doing it. To me, with the media not highlighting this, and I say this I've got 4 of the biggest outlets on my screen, and not a single one has highlighted the contradictions. They've just got quotes like, talking about it caused more reliving of the trauma. Brett's assault on me drastically altered my life. I look forward to a fair and respectful hearing, which is actually the only moderately okay quote from Grassley. Feinstein, the entire country is watching. Yes, but the majority of them are like, how is this still a thing?
Yeah, right. But he has to just say it he says it for everyone.
Oh, I just realised. I'm looking at a picture of Christine Blasey Ford with her glasses. She looks like an older version of the geek from the second Ghostbusters film. I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
They look similar. They really do.
She also looks like the kind of person who would ask for the manager.
Oh God, what filth. But yeah, the quotes from most of them are, they don't highlight this, and even the BBC here, one of the big summary points, her voice cracking. She said she thought he was going to rape her, and she is 100. Her voice cracking. That's a summary point. We need to know her voice cracked through the whole thing. I thought that voice was like old person voice. the cracking was just like a natural thing for her, which I think is interesting to play such a victim for someone who's a psychiatrist or psychologist. Is she a psychiatrist?
She's a psychologist.
Oh, so she understands
which makes
minds.
everything even more not credible, because everything that I've noticed about her just makes me think she knows how to play this game.
Well, that's back to the whole thing, what I said at the start, where I felt deception was the point. It really, and being a psychologist, I'm sorry, but somebody knows if she's I mean, there's no evidence to support this. There's no evidence to support her claims. Therefore, she is playing the audience. And there are some tweets here. People like pointing out that like Lindsey Graham's speech defending Kavanaugh has been praised by like obviously Ben Shapiro, Laura Ingram. Yeah.
Ingram, yeah.
And Kimberly Strassel. I don't know who that is.
I don't either. I think is somebody for InfoWars. I'm not
Wall
sure.
Street Journal edit. Yeah, Wall Street Journal. She's a
You'll
columnist.
figure.
Okay, that's interesting. That surprises me. But yeah, it took Lindsey Graham to like pull him back for a minute, but for fuck's sake, they're still trying to pin him down for something. They still can't like prove anything.
Well, it's kind of like it. So.
And
I
get
ahead of it.
No. One thing, where the fuck is the boys will be boys thing from? Because people have been referencing
I don't know.
this.
I've never heard a fucking person say it.
No, nor have I. And yet it keeps coming up, and I'm like, what? Where's Kavanaugh ever said this?
Where's anybody fucking said this? The only time I've ever heard it being said was when my dad was in fucking high school, in a military high school, where he got beat up in his freshman and sophomore year. And, you know, when they came to complain about it, they were like, oh no, boys will be boys. Well, he came back junior and senior year, beat one of them with a fire extinguisher, threw another one over a balcony, and then broke one of the other guy's hands.
Yeah.
And then when they tried to discipline him, they were like, well, boys will be boys.
Okay, so
And then he caught himself.
I'm going to read a tweet here. This is quite interesting. It's remember how much Kavanaugh remembers from those days, where he was talking about like his 19-year-old like frat boy nicknames, drinking game stuff that he remembered so clearly. Okay, remember this because it's quite the contrast with the first witness, where her story was vague. In fact, any comparison is vague. You can say you buried it down, but I'm sorry, but I know events in my life that are traumatic that I can remember from when I was 4, and I can remember them pretty clear. But her story wasn't that.
Same kind of ish. I have a close relative whom had a significantly traumatic experience, and she says that she can remember the objects in the room.
See, that's the thing. The human mind is fantastic for remembering truly devastating things that happen in our lives. And that's not a good thing, but it's what our mind does. So if you're going to give evidence and you're going to not be able to portray or give any meaningful or even clear answer, you know, while everyone's willing to fawn all over you, I have to retain a certain level of skepticism. Because it's just not... I'm not convinced. And people are divided on this. People are talking about how Graham's defense of Kavanaugh was coordinated. It's not coordinated.
Yeah, my ass.
It's you know. Oh, hang on. Okay, I want to read this tweet. So I'm going to put it up on screen because I think I don't quite entirely understand this. Before we finish, and then we'll give some conclusions and then we'll finish. So. Is this the right one? Yeah, here we go. The hypocrisy is real. So, Senator Graham back in 2016, Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said this at a political event in Kentucky. I'm going to open the tweet. One of my proudest moments was when I looked at Barack Obama in the eye and I said, Mr. President, you will not fill this vacancy. I don't know what that's about. What's that? I'm confused. I knew what that meant for a second and it slipped my mind. Never mind. Oh well. Hypocrisy.
Probably when he got like...
Oh wait, hang on. Didn't Obama have a thing for 2016? Didn't he have like a nomination or something?
I mean, he got voted out. That was when Trump got elected.
No, I thought we had a nominee he could fill the seat with.
I don't even know what that fucking means. Like, I'm looking at this and it's like,
I'm now confused why that featured.
What do you mean hypocrisy?
I'm now
He
confused.
can't.
Yeah.
He can't fill the seat.
Yeah, I'm now confused because this is featuring in the BBC feed. It now makes no sense to me. I thought it meant something else, and I've just now quickly looked. Didn't mean shit. Okay.
Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, what vacancy can you fill?
Oh,
It's
Merrick
constitutionally
Garland.
established.
Right. Merrick Garland. Right.
Oh.
Thank you.
Got it.
Yeah. Thank you, chat. I knew it was someone. I knew it. Okay. Before we finish, do you want to give your opinion on what has transpired today?
This is probably one of the most important moments in our country's history for about the next couple years.
Why is that?
Because right now you have the Me Too movement, Title IX, and the essence of what the next 6 years under Trump is going to end up looking like. You will either see this man get voted down and infinitely be considered a sexual abuser for the rest of his life, and prove to everyone that even without credible evidence, without corroboration, something that happened 36 years ago is a valid way to attack your enemies. And so if he does not get the job, then it is very likely that we are going to see more of this happen, and it's not going to stop happening until somebody gets put down and not able to make these allegations and get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that anything needs to happen, but I'm saying for the optics of this situation, you had so many people coming out of the woodwork to yell at this guy after years, decades of him being in politics, and nothing ever come up.
Mm-hmm.
You are proving to everybody that this is a valid tactic.
Okay. I want to embellish ever so slightly on a remark you made earlier when you pointed out Title IX, the Me Too movement, and I will add to that with senators, Congress, and many other media outlets that are going out of their way to circumvent the very principles of what it means to be American. As an Englishman, I am somewhat jealous of certain ideals you have. You have you have a reasonable system for a republic. It's precious to me.
I would say we pulled some good ideas.
These systems that exist, the Me Too thing that's gaining steam still, Title IX that exists to circumvent democracy in its purest form, with senators openly contradicting the very nature of justice. If this goes through, and someone is denied, is it called SCOTUS? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If someone is
Supreme Court of the United States.
Yes, someone is denied SCOTUS on essentially the word of one person who cannot provide any evidence, you have made a mockery of the Supreme Court. You are actually unironically making a mockery of it. And to me that is quite an affront to the very principles your country is built on. If you think that for any second or any reason that you should be allowed to simply not want someone there, and then when you don't get your way, cry wolf in such a way that you would destroy someone, either to force them to call guilt, requite, or make them lose, you are an absolute muppet for thinking that is in any way acceptable. It makes you a joke to anyone with, and I would say this charitably, anyone with an IQ over 1. And I say this with all honesty. If you think for a second anything you have done today proves anything, your IQ is not over or even 1. Yeah. And yes, perfectly faded delusions, they are. And I'm really sorry for what happened to you. So, before we finish, is there anything you would like to say, Trups?
God. I don't even know anymore. This is emotionally draining to me.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us. Say good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.